Daewon stood in the center of the Grand Council Hall. Above him, 47 different species sat in their special seats, looking down at the human ambassador. The chamber was huge, built to make visitors feel small. It had worked on many species before, but not on humans. He had been coming to this place for 12 years. 12 years of smiling, nodding, and watching his people give everything while receiving almost nothing in return. Today, that would end. Chairman Vextar clicked his claws against the metal armrest. The sound echoed through the silent hall. His reptilian eyes stared at Daewon with something that looked like boredom. Next to him, Trade Coordinator Thelmara's insect wings buzzed softly. She was counting her profits, Daewon knew. Profits made from cheating humans on every trade deal. The proposal on the table was simple. Humanity would increase its contributions by 40%. In exchange, humanity would get nothing. No extra voting power. No better trade terms, nothing. Daewon looked at the document on his datapad. Behind him, Bora shifted her weight. The former fleet commander was his military liaison. She had warned him this moment would come. The council had grown too comfortable. They thought humans would accept anything. He cleared his throat and began to speak. Chairman Vextar honored council members. Humanity cannot accept this proposal. Vextar's eyes narrowed. Cannot or will not? Both, Daewon said calmly. We already contribute more resources than any 3 council members combined. We defend 27 positions along the outer rim. We provide medical technology that saves millions of lives each year. We share our ship designs, our defense systems, our agricultural methods, and yet when we ask for fair representation, we are told to be grateful for our membership. Thelmara's wings buzzed louder. Humans are young. You have been members for only 32 years. Many of us have served for centuries. You should prove your loyalty before demanding equality. Daewon smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Prove our loyalty? We have lost 15,000 soldiers defending your territories. Our merchant ships deliver food to your colonies at below cost. Our engineers maintain systems on 40 different worlds. What more proof do you need? Defense Minister Krillian ruffled his feathers. The bird-like alien looked uncomfortable. The ambassador raises good points. Perhaps we should discuss modifications to the proposal. Silence, Vextar snapped. The proposal stands. Ambassador Daewon, you will accept these terms or humanity's voting privileges will be suspended. The hall went quiet. Every species representative watched Daewon. Some looked curious. Others looked pleased. They all expected him to back down. Humans always back down. Bora leaned forward and whispered in his ear. The fleets are ready. Earth supports whatever decision you make, Daewon nodded. He had hoped it would not come to this. But hope was not a strategy. He touched his datapad, sending a signal to Earth. The response came back in 3 seconds. One word, approved. He looked up at Vextar. Very well. I have consulted with my government. Humanity formally withdraws from these negotiations. Furthermore, we are suspending our council membership, pending a complete review of our relationship with this body. The reaction was immediate. Representatives began talking at once. Some laughed. Others looked shocked. Vextar's tail lashed back and forth. You cannot do this, the chairman hissed. We can and we are, Daewon replied. Effective immediately. All human military forces are being recalled from council territories. All trade agreements will be reviewed. All technology licenses will expire according to their terms and will not be renewed. Human embassies will reduce to minimal staff within 48 hours. Thelmara stood up, her wings spreading wide. This is blackmail. You are trying to force us to give you special treatment. No, Daewon said quietly. We are simply leaving. You have made it clear that our contributions are expected but not valued. We choose to contribute our resources elsewhere. Vextar slammed his claw on the armrest. You are bluffing. You need the council. Where else will you trade? Who else will protect your colonies? Daewon gathered his materials. Bora was already walking toward the exit. He paused at the door and looked back at the chairman. Chairman, with respect, you have that backwards. Humanity will be fine. The question is whether the council will be fine without humanity. He walked out. Behind him, the council erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded he be stopped. Others called for emergency votes. Vextar tried to restore order, but no one was listening anymore. In the corridor outside, Bora smiled. That went well. Daewon nodded. Send the recall orders. I want every human ship out of Council space within 1 week. Already done, Bora said. The first ship started moving 10 minutes ago. They walked toward the human embassy. Around them, alien diplomats rushed past trying to figure out what had just happened. None of them believed humanity would really leave. They thought this was a negotiating trick. They would learn soon enough. Humanity was done being taken for granted. 48 hours after Day One walked out of the council hall, the first human transport ships began lifting off from Nexus Prime. The human embassy was nearly empty. Only a small crew remained to handle final paperwork. Everything else was being packed and loaded. Bora stood in the command center, watching displays showing human fleet movements across the galaxy. 27 defensive positions, hundreds of ships, thousands of personnel, all coming home. Sector 7 reports all ships departing on schedule, an officer said. Sector 12 is ahead of schedule. They were ready to leave. Bora was not surprised. The fleet commanders had been unhappy for years. They had watched council ships hide behind human shields while taking credit for victories. They had seen human soldiers die protecting aliens who called them primitive. Now they were finally going home. On Earth, Prime Minister Jiwoo sat in an emergency cabinet meeting. Half the room wanted to negotiate. The other half wanted to stay firm. Jiwoo listened to them argue for an hour before raising her hand for silence. The decision is made, she said. We are leaving. The council had 32 years to treat us fairly. They chose not to. But the economic impact, one minister protested. Will be minimal, said Young-soo, the economic analyst. He pushed a data pad across the table. I have run the numbers. Council trade represents only 18% of our total economy. We can replace it within 6 months. But the council cannot replace us, can't explain, Jiwoo said. Young-soo pulled up charts and graphs. Council members import 64% of their medical supplies from us. 49% of their food comes from human agricultural worlds. Their logistics networks depend on our ships and coordination systems. We maintain power grids on 17 council worlds. Without us, they face immediate shortages in essential goods. The room went quiet. One minister finally spoke. They do not know this? They know, Young-soo said. They just think we are too weak to leave. They think we need them more than they need us. Jiwoo smiled. They are about to learn otherwise. Back on Nexus Prime, the council was in chaos. Emergency meetings were called every few hours. Each one accomplished nothing. Chairman Vextar insisted the humans were bluffing. He sent 3 different delegations to the human embassy. All 3 were politely turned away. Day One met with the 3rd delegation in a bare room. Most of the furniture was already gone. He did not offer them seats. The chairman wishes to discuss modifications to the proposal, the lead delegate said. She was a diplomat from one of the smaller species. She looked nervous. There is nothing to discuss, Day One replied, but surely we can reach a compromise. Perhaps a 30% increase instead of 40? Day One shook his head. You misunderstand. We are not negotiating. We are leaving. If the council wishes to discuss a new relationship in the future, it must be based on equality and mutual respect. Until then, humanity has nothing more to say. The delegates left looking confused. They reported back to Vextar, who threw his datapad across the room. They will come back, he insisted. They have to. Defense Minister Krillian was not so sure. He had just received reports from the Outer Rim. Human fleets were pulling back from every position. Already pirates were becoming bolder. 3 merchant ships had been attacked in areas that had been safe for years. We need to send our own ships, he said at the next council meeting. Do it, Vextar ordered. Krillian sent the orders. 2 days later, he received responses from fleet commanders. They could not deploy. Their ships were designed to work with human technology. Their crews were trained using human methods. Without human support systems, they could barely leave port. Krillian stared at the reports. How had this happened? When had the council become so dependent? Meanwhile, trade coordinator Thelmara was having her own crisis. Human merchants were closing their shops. Trade posts were being abandoned. Contracts were being canceled according to their terms. She tried to find replacement suppliers. None existed. Humans had been providing goods at 20 to 30% below market value. No other species would match those prices. She realized with growing horror that her entire fortune was based on reselling human goods. Without access to human products, she had nothing to sell. Technology companies across council space began reporting problems. Human software licenses were expiring. Human engineers were going home. Systems that had run smoothly for years started breaking down. Nobody knew how to fix them. On Earth, Young-Soo tracked everything. He compiled reports and sent them to Jiwoo every evening. Each report showed the same thing. Council space was struggling. Human space was fine. How long before they understand? Jiwoo asked. Young-Soo considered. Another week. Maybe 2. Pride makes people slow to learn. Daewon sent his final message to the council on the 7th day. It was brief. The human embassy is now closed. All remaining staff are departing. Future communications should be directed to Earth. Good luck. He boarded the last shuttle and looked back at Nexus Prime. The station looked the same as always. Big and impressive. But he knew the truth. Without human support, it was just an expensive shell. The council was about to learn what humans had been quietly providing all along, and they were going to learn it the hard way. 2 weeks had passed. The council chamber was full again, but the mood was different. Representatives whispered to each other nervously. Reports of problems were coming in from everywhere. Chairman Vextar called the meeting to order. He still believed he was in control. He still thought humans would come back begging. We must take action, he announced. Humanity has abandoned its duties. They have left council territories undefended. They have violated trade agreements. We must show them there are consequences. Ambassador Rixall stood up. He was from a species that valued logic over emotion. He had been watching everything carefully. Chairman, with respect, the humans have violated nothing. All contracts were terminated according to proper legal procedures. They have every right to withdraw. Rights? Vextar's tail lashed. They have obligations. They cannot simply walk away. They can, and they did, Rixall said quietly. The question is why we did not see this coming. Thelmara buzzed angrily. It does not matter why. We need to force them back. I propose trade sanctions against all human colonies. The council voted. 39 members supported sanctions. 8 voted against. The sanctions were approved immediately. Human colonies would be banned from trading with any council member. Thelmara smiled. Now they will understand their mistake. On Earth, Jiwoo read the announcement and laughed. They think we need their markets? Young-Soo shook his head. Human colonies have been preparing for independence for years. Most are completely self-sufficient. The sanctions will not hurt us. But council members who depended on human goods, they will feel it immediately. He was right. Within days, shortages began appearing across council space. Hospitals ran low on medicine. Food prices doubled. Transportation systems slowed down because nobody knew how to maintain the human-designed logistics networks. Defense Minister Krillian faced a worse problem. The Outer Rim was falling apart. Pirate attacks were happening every day now. Merchant ships were being captured. Colonies were calling for help. But council fleets could barely respond. He went to Vextar's office late one night. We need to recall the sanctions, he said. Absolutely not, the chairman replied. That would show weakness. We are weak, Krillian said. Our ships do not work without human technology. Our crews do not know how to fight without human tactics. We have 5,000 years of military tradition, and somehow we forgot how to defend ourselves. Vextar slammed his desk. Nonsense. We managed fine before humans joined the council. Did we? Krillian pulled up old records. Before humans, pirate attacks were 3 times higher. Colony losses were 5 times higher. Trade routes were dangerous. The humans fixed all of that, and we took credit for it. The chairman looked at the data. For the first time, doubt crossed his face, but his pride was stronger. They will come back. They need us. Yoonji was the only human still on Nexus Prime. She was a junior diplomat, officially just an observer. Her real job was to watch the council destroy itself and report everything to Earth. She sent daily updates to Daewon. Each one painted a worse picture than the last. Medical crisis developing. 6 planets report outbreaks of diseases that were previously controlled with human vaccines. Council medical teams do not know how to produce the vaccines themselves. Economic projections worsening. 3 major corporations have declared bankruptcy. All 3 were dependent on reselling human technology. Military situation critical. Pirate Federation has formed. They are openly mocking Council defense forces. 2 colonies have been abandoned because protection cannot be guaranteed. Daewon read each report carefully. He felt no satisfaction. This was not about revenge. This was about respect. The council had to understand that partnership meant equality, but they were not learning. Not yet. Rixal tried again at the next council meeting. We must face reality. Humans were not just members. They were the foundation of everything we built in the last 30 years. Without them, we are collapsing. Then we rebuild, Vextar said stubbornly. We managed before. We will manage again. How long will that take? Rixal asked. 10 years, 20? How many will die while we relearn what humans taught us? Vextar had no answer. That night, Rixal sent a secret message to Day One. It was brief. Some of us understand. We need time to build support.
Can humanity be patient?
Day One replied. We can be patient, but we will not be disrespected again. Real change must happen or we will never return. 3 more species requested permission to open trade talks directly with human colonies. The council denied all requests. More sanctions were threatened. Thelmara was still in denial. She insisted the economic problems were temporary. She claimed humans were sabotaging council systems. She demanded investigations. Youngsu received her accusations and filed them away. Let her think what she wants, he told Jiwoo. Reality will teach her soon enough. The council believed it was punishing humanity. It did not understand that it was only punishing itself. The delusion would continue, but not for much longer. 1 month. That was how long it took for everything to start breaking. The plague started on a mining colony in the Outer Rim. It was a disease that had been eliminated 20 years ago, wiped out by human vaccines. But the vaccines needed refrigeration systems that only human engineers knew how to maintain. The systems broke down. The disease came back. Within a week, it had spread to 3 more colonies. Within 2 weeks, it reached Nexus Prime itself. The Council's medical teams tried everything they knew. Nothing worked. The human vaccines had been specially designed. Nobody else knew how to make them. Krillian watched the death count rise and felt sick. How had they let this happen? How had they become so dependent on one species? The military situation was even worse. Pirate clans had united under a single leader. They called themselves the Free Federation. They were attacking Council colonies openly now, knowing that Council ships could not stop them. Krillian sent his best commanders to deal with the pirates. They failed. Their ships were too slow. Their weapons were outdated. Their tactics were predictable. Everything they knew about modern warfare they had learned from humans. Without human advisors, they were fighting like their ancestors did 1,000 years ago. 2 colonies were evacuated. The settlers fled to safer systems, taking nothing but what they could carry. Council ships watched from a distance, unable to help. In human space, things were different. Bora stood in the command center, watching displays showing perfect order. Human colonies were safe. Human trade routes were protected. The military was sharp and ready. 3 more Council species have requested asylum, an officer reported. What did the Prime Minister decide? Bora asked. She approved it. They can settle in the border colonies. But they have to follow our laws, Bora nodded. It was the right choice. These aliens were not responsible for their government's mistakes. They were just people looking for safety. The news of the asylum caused another crisis in the Council. Vextar called it theft. He demanded the refugees be returned. Jiwoo sent a simple response. No Hyunwoo, the human security chief, had to increase border patrols. Council ships were trying to enter human space without permission. Some were refugees. Others were smugglers looking for human goods. A few were scouts probably gathering intelligence. Should we be worried? One of his officers asked. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical displays. Council ships were falling apart. Their crews were barely trained. No, he said. If they wanted to fight us, they would lose badly. They know it. Youngsu released his monthly economic report. The numbers were devastating. Council GDP had dropped by 38%. Unemployment was at record highs. 6 major trade routes had closed completely. Financial markets were in chaos. Thelmara read the report and felt her world crumbling. Her entire business empire was based on Council trade. Without it, she had nothing. She had borrowed heavily, expecting human goods to always be available. Now her creditors were demanding payment. She had no way to pay them. She went to Vextar. We must negotiate with the humans. This cannot continue. Negotiate? The chairman's eyes blazed. That would mean admitting we were wrong. We were wrong, she said quietly. We took them for granted. We treated them like servants instead of partners. Now we are paying the price. Vextar did not want to hear it. He dismissed her and called for new sanctions against humanity. The council voted again. This time only 23 members supported more sanctions. The others were silent. Rixel stood and spoke clearly. We are destroying ourselves. Every day we delay, more of our people suffer. The humans are not our enemies. We made them our enemies by treating them poorly. We can fix this, but only if we admit our mistakes. Half the council applauded. The other half sat in angry silence. The chamber was dividing. That night, Rixel contacted Day One again. I have 23 votes now. Not enough to remove Vextar, but enough to block his worst decisions. Can you provide limited humanitarian aid? Just for the plague. People are dying. Day One took the request to Jiwoo. She considered it carefully. If we help, will it let them continue avoiding real change? Maybe, Day One admitted. But people are dying. Children are dying. They did not make these decisions. Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Send medical supplies, vaccines and basic medicines, but nothing else. And make it clear this is temporary humanitarian aid, not a return to the old relationship. What about payment? Daewon asked. No payment, Jiwoo said. This is a gift. Let them understand the difference between partners and enemies. Partners help even when they are angry. The first human medical ship arrived at a plague-stricken colony 3 days later. The settlers cheered. The council officials looked embarrassed. The human crew delivered the vaccines, showed local doctors how to use them, and left without asking for anything. On Nexus Prime, representatives watched the news broadcasts. Some felt gratitude. Others felt shame. Vexter felt rage. They are trying to make us look bad, he said. But everyone could see the truth. Humans were helping even when they had every reason not to. The council looked smaller and meaner with each passing day. 6 weeks after humanity left, Vextar made his worst decision. A human merchant convoy was traveling through neutral space, 5 cargo ships carrying food and medicine to independent colonies. They were not going to council territory. They were not breaking any laws. They were just passing through. Vextar saw an opportunity. If council forces could capture the convoy, they would have leverage. They could force humans to negotiate. It was a desperate plan. It was also incredibly stupid. He gave the order. A council battle group moved to intercept 8 warships against 5 merchant vessels. It should have been easy. What Vextar did not know was that every human merchant convoy now traveled with military escorts. 2 human destroyers were hidden behind the cargo ships, sensors quiet, waiting. The council ships approached and demanded surrender. The merchant captain replied calmly, "You have no authority here. This is neutral space. Leave us alone." The council commander ignored the warning. He ordered his ships to open fire. Warning shots first, meant to scare the merchants into stopping. The human destroyers dropped their stealth and moved forward, their weapons locked onto the council ships. The message they sent was short. Stand down immediately or be disabled. The council commander panicked. He had been told human ships were gone from this sector. He had been told this would be easy. He ordered his ships to attack. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Human weapons were precise. They targeted engines, weapons, and communication systems. Not a single council crew member died, but all 8 council ships were left drifting in space, powerless and helpless. The human destroyers sent another message. "We are transmitting your location to rescue services. Do not attempt this again." Then they escorted the merchant convoy away, leaving the disabled ships behind. The news spread fast. Within hours, every species in the galaxy knew what had happened. Council forces had attacked peaceful merchants and been utterly defeated. The humiliation was complete. Sungmin was a human intelligence officer. His job was to monitor Council military capabilities. After the battle, he compiled a report that shocked even his own commanders. Council forces are effectively non-functional, he wrote. Their technology is 30 years behind human standards. Their training is inadequate. Their tactics are obsolete. In a real war, they would be completely destroyed within days. Bora read the report and felt sad. The Council had once been powerful. They had built an empire across the stars. But they had grown lazy. They had let humans do all the hard work while they took credit. Now the truth was exposed for everyone to see. On Nexus Prime, the Council was in chaos. Half the representatives demanded Vextar's removal. The other half were too afraid to say anything. Krillian stood before the assembly and spoke truth that nobody wanted to hear. We attacked peaceful merchants in neutral space. We violated every principle we claimed to uphold, and we were defeated so easily that it is embarrassing to even discuss. The humans showed mercy. They could have destroyed those ships. They chose not to. That is more honor than we have shown them in 30 years. Vextar tried to defend his decision. They were provoking us. They were showing off their strength. Rixal stood up. They were traveling to independent colonies. We attacked them. There is no other way to see this. We are the aggressors. We are the ones who broke the peace. The Council propaganda networks tried to spin the story. They claimed humans had ambushed Council ships. They said it was unprovoked aggression. But nobody believed it. The combat recordings had already been leaked. Everyone could see what really happened. 3 more Council worlds declared they were leaving the Alliance. They applied for association with human space instead. They would rather be independent and trade with humans than stay in a council that was falling apart. Thelmara's business finally collapsed completely. Her creditors seized everything. She went from being one of the richest beings in the galaxy to having nothing. She sat in her empty office and realized how foolish she had been. She had built her fortune by exploiting humans. Now that foundation was gone, the plague was spreading again. The medical supplies humans had sent were running out. More people were dying. Systems were failing faster than they could be repaired. Pirate attacks were increasing every day. Rixal led a delegation to the edge of human space. He sent a message requesting a meeting. Not a negotiation. Not a demand. Just a request. Jiwoo agreed to meet them at a neutral station. She brought Daewon and Youngsu. No military personnel. No weapons. Just 3 humans sitting across a table from 5 desperate council representatives. Rixal spoke first. We need help. Not trade. Not partnership. Just basic humanitarian assistance. Our people are dying. Our colonies are failing. We cannot continue like this. Jiwoo listened carefully. What about Vextar? We are removing him from power. It will take another week to complete the process legally, but he is done, and after he is gone, Jiwoo asked, will the council learn, or will you just find another chairman who treats us the same way? Rixal was quiet for a moment. We have learned the hard way. We took you for granted. We exploited your generosity. We treated you like servants instead of equals. We were wrong. Completely wrong, Jiwoo nodded slowly. I can provide emergency aid, food, medicine, basic supplies, but there are conditions. Name them. Complete reform of council governance, proportional voting based on contribution, transparent accounting, equal representation, and a formal apology to humanity for 30 years of exploitation. Rixal did not hesitate, agreed, all of it. Whatever it takes. 10 weeks after humanity withdrew, Vextar was removed from power. The vote was not even close. 41 representatives voted for his removal. Only 6 stood with him. The once powerful chairman left the council chamber in disgrace, his tail dragging on the floor. Rixal became interim chairman. His first act was to call for a complete audit of council operations. The results were devastating. Youngsu and a team of independent analysts were invited to help. They spent 2 weeks reviewing every system, every trade agreement, every military operation. What they found shocked even them. Humanity had been providing 72% of council defense capabilities, 68% of medical technology, 54% of food production, 49% of infrastructure maintenance. The list went on and on. Worse, the audit revealed systematic fraud. Thelmara and others had been marking up human goods by 300% and keeping the profits. They had been claiming credit for human innovations. They had been charging council members for services that humans provided for free. Misun was a human legal expert. She reviewed the contracts and found dozens of violations. Humans had been cheated repeatedly, their goodwill exploited at every turn. Rixal released all the findings publicly. He did not hide anything. The galaxy needed to see what had happened. The reaction was immediate. Protests erupted on council worlds. Citizens were angry that their leaders had been so foolish. They were embarrassed that their entire society had been built on human generosity, while they treated humans like second-class members. Criminal charges were filed against Thelmara and 17 other officials. They had stolen from humans and from their own people. The courts worked quickly. Most were convicted within weeks. Krillian stood before the council and gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. We told ourselves we were superior. We told ourselves humans were lucky to be here. We were wrong. Humans were not lucky to join us. We were lucky they stayed as long as they did. He detailed every instance of human contribution. Every battle fought. Every life saved. Every innovation shared. The numbers were staggering. For 32 years, humans had been the foundation of everything good about the Council, and the Council had treated them with contempt. We owe them more than we can ever repay, Krillian said. But we can start by treating them with the respect they deserved from the beginning. The Council voted unanimously to issue a formal apology to humanity. Rixal himself drafted it. He did not make excuses. He did not minimize what had happened. He simply told the truth. The apology was broadcast across the galaxy. We failed you. We took your help and gave nothing in return. We dismissed your concerns and mocked your contributions. We were arrogant and blind. We are sorry. On Earth, Jiwoo watched the broadcast with her cabinet. Some wanted to reject the apology. They wanted the Council to suffer more. Jiwoo understood their anger. She felt it too. But she also understood something else. They are broken, she said. The question is whether we help them rebuild or let them fall completely. Daewon spoke up. If we let them fall, millions of innocent people will die. People who had nothing to do with these decisions. Children, families, workers just trying to live their lives. Then we help, Jiwoo said. But on our terms. Real equality this time. No more exploitation. No more taking us for granted. She sent Daewon back to Nexus Prime with a proposal. It was detailed and specific. Proportional voting based on contribution. Transparent accounting systems. Equal representation in all decisions. Fair compensation for human goods and services. And strict penalties for any future exploitation. Rixal read the proposal and smiled. It was fair. More than fair, actually. Humans were not asking for special treatment. They were just asking to be treated like equals. The Council reviewed the proposal for 3 days. There was surprisingly little debate. Everyone knew they had no choice. More importantly, most of them genuinely wanted to do better. The vote was unanimous. All 47 species agreed to the new terms. A new charter was drafted. Misun reviewed every word to make sure there were no loopholes. The signing ceremony was scheduled for 2 weeks later. It would take place in a rebuilt council chamber, smaller and simpler than before. No more grand displays meant to intimidate. Just a room where equals could meet. During those 2 weeks, human aid ships began arriving in council space. Not as much as before, just enough to stop the immediate crises, food for starving colonies, medicine for the sick, engineers to fix critical systems. But this time everything was properly documented. Every delivery was logged. Every service was recorded. Humans would never again work without recognition. Bora coordinated the military response to the pirate threat. Human ships did not do all the work this time. Instead, human officers trained council forces properly. They shared tactics and strategies. They worked together as actual partners. It was slower than before. Less efficient, but it was sustainable. Council forces were learning to stand on their own. Yunji, who had watched the entire collapse from inside Nexus Prime, sent her final report to Daewon. The change is real. People here are different. They understand now. Not all of them, but enough. They know what they almost lost. Daewon read her words and felt cautiously optimistic. Maybe this would work. Maybe the Council could become what it should have been from the start. A real alliance of equals. The signing ceremony was approaching. Humanity would rejoin the Council. But everything would be different. Both sides had learned hard lessons. Now it was time to build something better. 3 months after humanity had walked away, Daewon stood in the council chamber again. But everything was different. The chamber itself was smaller. The seats were arranged in a circle instead of looking down from above. There were no grand displays of power. Just a simple room where equals could meet and talk. Representatives from all 47 species sat together. Rixal stood at the center, holding the new charter. It was a thick document carefully written to ensure fairness for everyone. Today we begin again, Rixal said, not as masters and servants, not as superior and inferior, but as equals working toward common goals. He began reading the key points of the new charter. Every species would have votes proportional to their actual contributions. All financial dealings would be transparent and public. Technology sharing would be compensated fairly. Military operations would be truly joint, with shared command and shared credit. Most importantly, any member could leave at any time if they felt they were being treated unfairly. No more forcing species to stay. No more taking loyalty for granted. The signing took an hour. Each representative came forward and added their mark to the document. When it was Daewon's turn, he paused and looked around the room. These were the same species that had mocked humanity just months ago. The same ones who had demanded more while giving nothing. But he saw genuine change in their faces. They understood now. They had learned. He signed the charter. The room erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Krillian approached Daewon. I want you to know something. We were fools. We had the greatest partners in the galaxy, and we treated you like servants. That shame will stay with us forever. Daewon nodded. What matters now is what we build together. The past is done. Let us make sure the future is better. On Earth, Jiwoo addressed the Global Assembly. The Council has reformed. They have met our conditions. We are rejoining, but carefully. We will watch. We will verify. And if they ever treat us poorly again, we will leave immediately. The Assembly voted to approve the new partnership. The vote was not unanimous. Some humans remained angry. They wanted nothing to do with the Council. Jiwoo understood their feelings. Trust had been broken. It would take years to fully repair. But she believed in giving second chances, not because the Council deserved it, because it was the right thing to do. Bora began working with Council military commanders to rebuild their defense forces. This time the training was real. No shortcuts, no letting Council forces rely entirely on human technology. They needed to be capable on their own. It will take years, she told Jiwoo, maybe decades, but they are learning. And they are trying. Youngsu established the new economic monitoring system. Every transaction was tracked. Every contribution was measured. The data was public. Anyone could verify that the system was fair. He discovered something interesting in the first month. When you paid humans fairly for their work, they worked even harder. When you treated them with respect, they gave more than required. The Council was getting better results than before, even though they were paying proper prices now. Turns out goodwill is not free, he told his team. It has to be earned. The Council forgot that. Now they are learning it again. A young human diplomat named Hae-Won joined the Council staff. She had not been part of the old system. She represented the new generation. For her, the Council was a place of opportunity, not exploitation. She worked with young representatives from other species. They had all grown up hearing stories about how the Council had failed. They were determined to do better. In the Outer Rim, the pirate threat was being dealt with properly. Joint task forces with mixed crews patrolled the trade routes. Humans taught tactics. Council members provided ships and personnel. Together they were stronger than either could be alone. The pirates learned quickly. Attacking Council space was no longer easy. The defenses were real now. 6 months after humanity rejoined, the first joint infrastructure project began. A new space station would be built on the border between human and Council space. It would serve as a symbol of the new partnership. Every species contributed design, materials, labor, money. It was truly collaborative. No single species could claim credit. That was the point. Daewon attended the groundbreaking ceremony. He stood next to Rixal and watched as the first construction ships began their work. Was it worth it? Rixal asked quietly. Walking away? Letting us fall? Making us learn the hard way? Daewon thought about it. Yes. If we had stayed and accepted your terms, nothing would have changed. You would have kept exploiting us. We would have kept resenting you. Eventually, it would have ended worse than this. Rixal nodded. We needed to see what we were losing. We needed to understand your value. I wish we had learned it without the pain, but at least we learned. They watched the construction continue. The station would take 3 years to complete. It would be the first of many joint projects. The Council was recovering slowly. Trade was improving. Colonies were stable. The plague was under control. It was not perfect. There were still problems, still disagreements, still species that resented the changes. But the foundation was solid now, built on respect instead of exploitation, built on equality instead of hierarchy. Daewon returned to Earth for a brief visit. Jiwoo asked him how things were going. Better, he said. Not perfect, but better. They treat us like partners now. Like equals. It feels different. Good, Jiwoo said. That is all we ever wanted. Not special treatment. Just fairness. News spread across the galaxy about the reformed council. Other species that had been considering joining now applied. They were attracted by the fairness of the new system. The transparency, the equality. The council began growing again, but this time growth was healthy, based on mutual benefit instead of exploitation. Humanity had withdrawn from peace talks and left the council to collapse. It had been a painful lesson for everyone, but from that pain came something better, a real partnership, a true alliance, and maybe finally a council worth belonging to.